Most definitely, most definitely. Want to say hello to everybody. Hope everybody having a good day. My name is Joe Brown, aka Black Feniks. I'm born in Little Rock, Arkansas. Actually got introduced to welding at the age of 17 while I was still incarcerated. I was incarcerated from the age of 16 to 26 as an adolescent for drugs and robbery. And during that time, my mom actually came down to visitation, and she wanted to just try to put some seeds in my mind on what type of career I was going to actually jump into. So she had been watching commercials literally, and I think it was a Tulsa welding school and with some underwater welding that she talked to me about. And she was just telling me about the money and the opportunities. And I never forget after visitation that Monday, I think it was probably like that Wednesday when I actually got it. Because back then, we didn't have Google. Google wasn't big then. So she actually went to the library and printed me off some copies of different welding procedures, different welding ideas and what they do in the field and the gear they wear and things of that nature to kind of plant the seed. So at 17, the seed was planted, and she also did that for a reason I want to highlight and say that from where I'm from, we was used to money at a young age. So she knew I wasn't going to actually get no regular job. She was like, ain't no way he gonna just punch no regular clock. I got to figure out something. And once she seen the welding and the money that was involved in it, she was like, hey, I think he probably like this. It's a good opportunity. You can actually do your own thing later on. So she really like planted a good seed. Rest in love. My mom, she passed now. So, but she did get the opportunity to see me work in the trade, but she never had the opportunity to actually see me own my company. So that's one thing I wish she would have seen, but she never seen that part. So.
Thanks to her for getting you started.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Again, thanks for sharing that story. I've been following your story, now for a year or so since I discovered you, and I've been sharing it. Not as much with these folks, but we're moving toward that. I think my first assignment that I made was for the classes that you just met. So this is kind of the new version of that assignment. Not an assignment so much as just like learning. Just more of the point of education than just getting assignments. So I'm wondering what any of my students might have to ask.
Yeah, feel free. Feel free. Ask me anything that you might have on your mind.
Hey Joe, I was great hearing your story about class, and I got a couple questions too, so I'm gonna jump in before a little bit.
Okay.
Mark's co-teacher on the engineering side. So sounds like you got an amazing personal story, but professionally, what is the project you've worked on that you were either most fun for you or you most proud of?
Well, I give you two. I give you one when I was working for someone, and then one for myself, working for my own. Working for someone else, and this was as a ironworker welder at the time. So at this time, I was probably making. I want to say at this time I was making like $22 an hour, something like this. I was like an ironworker welder, so I was making like $22 an hour, and we did our first multi-story building. It was like a 12-story building, so it was pretty awesome. I was actually there from the ground up, so I got a chance to hang the steel, weld the steel in, watch the people. So that was actually one real cool project, and I say that because I did a lot of moment welding. I did a lot of deck welding. I did a lot of connecting beams, a lot of RFIs fixing. I was actually the lead welder on that job site. So everybody came to me with questions. What we need, what kind of rod can we use on this, or whatever. It was pretty neat. So that project actually opened up a bigger door. I think it wasn't even a year later, 6 months later after that project is when I started striking out being independent. So that was like my verge to shoot off. So it was real fun. And that building was actually in Bentonville, Arkansas. So if you're familiar with Fayetteville, the Razorbacks, the home of the Razorbacks, and actually, let me step back a little bit further because it was actually two buildings I did there, and I want to say both of them. One of them was Bentonville, which is the 12-story building, which I'm talking about now, and the other one, which I know y'all probably be familiar with this name, is Sam Walton. You familiar with that name? The guy that actually owned Walmart. Well, he had yes, yes. His headquarters is actually in Bentonville, and this building that we built was right beside his headquarters. So they can step out every day, and they don't have no nice building like this. So I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, he should have been the one with this nice building. And all the time we building one right beside, and they just had like a complex. Not saying it wasn't nice, but it wasn't nothing luxurious than what we was doing. Yeah, he had a hand in it. Yeah, yeah, that was pretty cool. And actually, before I forget, before it slipped my mind, the one that I really want to talk about is the other one. He has a an art center in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's called Walton Art Center. So you can Google this, and they got a new picture up there now because it's pretty cool. Well, they got an extension that goes out probably 30, 40 feet into the street. So they added an extra story to it, but they got this extra extension. So they had to actually bring these two beams in on two different trucks because they was so long. Me and one other person was actually the only people that was able to pass the test to weld those beams. So me and one more guy is responsible for those two beams being up there. So if you ever get a chance to Google Walton Art Center, look at the way it's lined out. And I actually put my name on the beam, but you can't see it, but I put it up there. I put it up there. But that was one of the projects that I really was excited about because a lot of people go there. It's an art center, and it's real like it's modern art, and then they do a lot of singing, dance, and a lot of kids go there. So for me to be a part of that project, it made me feel good to tell my kids because my son was born in Fayetteville. So when they go there, I always like, hey, your daddy put this up. You know, it made me feel good. Say, hey, you know, I did that, don't you? I got one of them for you too. And this one was actually a job I was actually doing an ironworking welding job in Nevada. Yes, I was in Nevada. I was actually in Sparks, Nevada. And I would say that out of all the time I've been welding, that was the most difficult job for me. And it wasn't because of the task of the job. You know, I could do the job no problem. It was because of the management. And sometimes you'll hear situations where you have bad management, and it was just terrible. Oh, it was bad. It was so bad that it's like it's supposed to be a chain of order. It wasn't no structure. And me personally, I got sent out there to do this job. So I got flew out there, had to rent a vehicle to stay out there while I was there. You know, I rented a truck so I can move around the city. And I was there for a few weeks, and I literally gave that money up. That's how bad it was. Like, it was so much of a headache because once, I'm gonna be honest with you, I got transferred out there. I didn't know until I got there that I was literally the only black person some of them had ever seen in their life. So I didn't know that. So that you can imagine what type of situation that was for me. You know what I'm saying? It was hard. I had to bite my tongue so much. I'm surprised I still got one. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm surprised I still got a tongue. So that was.
Is that the situation? I remember you telling me a story. Is that the situation where the concrete's falling issue or something like that? You protected concrete, doing some welding around some concrete, and then a guy came up and he was trying to visit with you.
Well, nah, it wasn't that one. Actually, we was actually hanging steel and just welding clips in. So the job was actually easy. It was just me having to deal with people that didn't know how to talk to me, and I'm independent, so it was like always a problem. And then I had all of my stuff. So sometimes I had been on job site where people are literally get intimidated because you don't have to ask them no questions. All they had to do was give me prints. I said, "Hey man, what a print said? Let me go." I didn't have to have, and then they didn't know how to deal with it. And the people I was working with was out of Washington, some part out of Washington State. So like I say, it was a bad vibe, but the money was good. Like literally, I was making. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you. Tell you what I was making. I was making $120 a day per diem, and I was making $35 an hour. So it was worth me staying there. Like I wanted to get them. It was easy money, but I couldn't deal with it, and it was unorthodox as far as the management. I couldn't deal with the management, but the person that actually got me out there, she was good people, but I don't know if everybody got the memo. I don't know. So it was one of them situations where it was the management that made the job hard. Now, as far as being on a hard job, I say the hardest job I had been on was when I had to work in a steel mill, and it was just hot. Like it was hot from the steel, and then I had to weld beside these billets, and they was flaming hot, and I could literally only weld one pass, and I have to step out and do a 10-minute break. So that job took forever. It was hard because I can only literally burn one rod, and it was so hot in there. If I would try to burn two, I'd probably been passed out, and then somebody had to come and get me. That's how bad it was.
I'm gonna take a guess at where that was at
Newport, Arkansas,
Oh, okay.
which is right beside Blytheville. They do steel billets.
New core steel.
I think they connected to them, but what they do, they build the railroad car billets, the plates that you set the rails on. They build them. Yeah, they manufacture those.
Like I said, I lived in Memphis for a while. I know a little bit about it.
So you know how that is.
Yeah. I've been in the same situation in a brass foundry too, where you're welding next to like molten steel casting decks. You gotta get out of here now, but we're not hot metal.
I actually had a guy who passed out, and they wanted to try to blame it on me, but then again, when the guy said, I told the guy, "Hey man, we can burn one rod, we got to go." He didn't want to listen to me. He wanted to burn two. I knew it was too hot. I left. I said, "Hey man, I'm leaving. Come on." He wanted to stay. Somebody had to go in there and go get him. You know what I'm saying? And I told him, it was that hot in there. And he was like, "Oh, I just got lightheaded. I passed out, went to sleep." It's kind of like you welding, just go to sleep. Like it could kill you. Like it was that hot in there. Like, so that was a situation. That was a real hard job. And I'm glad that didn't last that long. Any questions? Any questions? What's going on? What's my biggest what? One of my biggest struggles, I would have to say, is knowing what I know around working around people who is not familiar with people of our color, knowing what we know. Like, it's like when I'm around someone that feels like I shouldn't know what I know. I don't know if you ever had that feeling when somebody's like, "Why do you know what you know?" You know what I mean? Like I think I had more problem with people who literally felt like I shouldn't know what I know, than versus being around someone they grew up in a diverse area. Like when I stayed in Denver, like I never had that issue. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even know what racism was until I went back to Arkansas, because I was born in Little Rock and I was raised there for a small period of time. Then I was raised in Denver. So when I come back to the South, like my friends growing up going to school, I had a Spanish friend. One of my friends was Cuban. One of my friends was an Arab. One of my friends was white, and I had another guy. I forgot what he was like. Some type of Asian, like literally white. We was all different, and we was friends. We would get together backpacks, and then I come to Arkansas. I was told I couldn't talk to so and so over there. I'm like, what? Like it was that bad down there. It was a completely different world for me, literally, like a completely different world. So I would say working in the South, certain parts of the South was my hardest being a black welder. So I had more success not being in the South. I'm gonna be honest with you. Actually, I'm here. So this is more of the Southeast, and I can say this. I've been here now a little over a month, knocking on 2 months. I'll say 2 months. I have had more opportunities here already, and I stopped through Oklahoma City for a year, and Oklahoma City just didn't work out for me. Like I couldn't make it happen. Like I couldn't make it happen. I couldn't make it happen, man. I mean, it just wouldn't. But I was able to build my container conversion, so I started getting leads. I was making money, but nothing like Feniks. Nothing like in Arizona. Because even though I faced racism in Arizona, but it was more like who can do the job. Like even though you have here and there, but it was more not racist than it was, right? If that makes sense. Like I meet a couple people and I was like, okay, can't work for them, and it was still good doors opportunity. So it was a lot of people I networked with, but being in a smaller area like Oklahoma City, I would have thought that it would have been more diverse for me. But then once I started doing the research, I understand why, the first Black Wall Street was bombed and destroyed in Oklahoma. And I get it because that spirit is still there, y'all. Like if you do any research on Oklahoma, that spirit is still there. Like I can't make it up. Like literally, I had no luck, none. So some places you just have to pack up, and dust the dust off your shoe and go somewhere else. It's what it is.
They talk about that in many of these. I don't know if you since I haven't seen all of it yet, but the Watchmen.
Yes. Yes.
The story, not the whole story, but the story is addressed in the Watchmen. Take some time to watch that show.
Yeah, that's most definitely some good history in there. So I think like going different places will open up doors for you and kind of let you know that everybody is different. And that's one thing that I want to say real quick, because traveling, I have done jobs from Seattle. I have worked from South Carolina to Seattle in between, and every place was different. You know what I mean? The people was different. Every place was different. I really enjoyed Missouri. I liked Missouri, but Missouri was more of a union place where being independent, I couldn't do my business thing right like I wanted to. So I had to go to somewhere that was more independent for LLCs than of a union type spot. You know what I mean? So I had to kind of move from there. But I liked the city though. I just couldn't make it work just for that fact. It was more union control. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, a lot of times, what I learned was you have to, and that's a good thing I want to say. Once you find your niche and you know what field you want to, none of those things will matter anymore. Like now, I don't do contract job. I do contracts, but I don't do bids. I don't have to go really, like I sell products. Products is where my freedom is at, because products give me able to make a top, like somebody might work, just for instance, someone might go to work and work 40 hours and make $500. I can sell 3 of my products and make $1,500. You see what I'm saying? And I sold them within less than an hour. So I got to thinking like that. Like I look at time differently. Like, so now I look at products over talent, which is utilizing my talent and then figuring out what products I can add to the market to increase my personal value. So that's why I provide shipping container conversions and other things that I do and other products I provide. But I'm always thinking products. And that's something that's endless because, you know, while y'all going to school, surely it's something that you might come up with that could be a product from welding or a product from something else. Just anything. I mean, products is where it's at. So if you think products, you'll kind of get more of the system of how things go in America. Like I had to figure it out.
That's a great idea. Actually, that makes me think because this group here will be seniors when it'll be the highest class in welding when we go back next year, and much of next year's focus is their senior project. So taking those words, what you're talking about, that could be food for knowledge or thought, I guess I should say, about when you all choose your senior project.
Exactly, because that can open up a lot of doors, like thinking like that. And honestly, having the opportunity to have a class where y'all can come up with some products, you never know what someone else needs. You never know how you can improve. So don't just think, sometimes you'll think, oh, I want to make something completely new. That's fine. And sometimes your product might be improving something that exists and making a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So never limit the way you look at it. You know what I mean? But just remember this. Every time you go to the store, you're spending money on products. So you might want to have us some on the shelf like they do. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of products, so let me, I'll talk about let's get back to that in your goal. I want to show you all Joe's YouTube channel in case you haven't seen that yet. I'm going to share my screen real quick. And he's also on Instagram. I'm pretty sure I've shown you that. Here's Joe's YouTube channel, HogOn Welding. There's a lot of videos in here, and he talks about everything. I don't speak for him, but everything from just the technique to some of the things that we've been talking about. Here's a video on just one day of welding and financial literacy, right? That's hugely important. We have those exact same posters in the show next to it too. Just a lot of different things, not just welding for welding's sake, but being a person and a welder in the world. And that's what I find so amazing because, I know a lot of you have not been welding outside of our room, and really it was only just last semester, which for us our half of last year. So
Let y'all tune in.
welding and stuff has all kind of mostly been theoretical for you, but there's a lot of questions that are going to come up, and stop sharing now.
So
It's got a lot of answers. A lot of questions. And a lot of answers. Another thing is that what you see wearing there, he also sells
yes, all my logo too. So I
on Amazon. Yeah, so you can find it there if you're interested too. But do I have any other students, Ajay or Eddie or Jay? Do you have a question for Joe?
with owning my own business, the most challenging thing I would say is understanding policy and paperwork. Like, understand, like, if you, the main thing with business is go over everything before you sign it. Go over everything. If you think you did it and you missed something and you don't sleep right, wake up and read it again. You know what I'm saying? Save yourself the headache. So I think my most difficult time was actually making an agreement with someone, like me and you sitting here, and I come to your house and you say, like that picture you got on your wall, and you say, hey, fabricate this picture for me. Me and you go over the details. We get some prices over. We did the writing. I know what you said. I signed the paperwork. I leave. You had me do the picture and make a new wall. I didn't know that was in the paperwork because I didn't read it. I just went off of what me and you agreed to. Now you take me to court and say, hey, he's supposed to make a new wall too. I'm like, no, I don't. You know what I'm saying? But now here I go, gotta make a new wall, and I gotta put your picture on there, which you got me because I didn't read it. You know what I mean? So always read it. So if you anytime you do a deal with someone and you feel unease, you ever did something and you felt like you couldn't sleep good or was on your mind, like, man, maybe I need to go back and look at this. Maybe I don't feel, go back and look at it. You know what I'm saying? Do it twice, 3 times because it can save you the headache. Like I have lost money. And the only reason I'm gonna say that because I lost money doing that. I gave you that scenario because I literally had to fix something and it came from being a profit to me going in the hole. So I learned from after that mistake, I said, you know what? I'm reading everything, send it to me in the email. I want to see it. I want to go over it. And I have had people say, we don't have a lot of time. We got to go and get this done. I'm like, well, I guess you need to find somebody else because until I read it, I'm not signing nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so I end up signing and then they'll have some BS in the clause somewhere. I say, hey, what about this here? Oh, I didn't know. Then they always say like they didn't know. Like they, I didn't know that was there. Yeah, they did. You know what I'm saying? So don't assume that people gonna give you a good heart with business. I just want to say that. Business is business. It's never personal. So if you go into business thinking personal, you're going to get your feelings hurt a lot. I'm going to say that. It's never personal with business. It's always business. So dot your I's, cross your T's.
That's good advice. Yeah, that might be why I was afraid because I have a hard time separating personal and business sometimes, and I think that may be one of my struggles.
And you know what? You have to. You really have to because I have tried it. You know, I have tried to hire people, family. I tried to do it, and certain people was not going. And let me say it like this: if you have a vision of the way certain things to be done, you have to even get like-minded people, or you're gonna have to do it yourself. Point blank. Period. And so don't feel, discouraged about how you got to get it done. But sometimes it's just what it is. You're going to have to get like-minded people on your team, or you're going to have to do all the hands-on until you get it to where you want to be at, But most definitely, I would say that the biggest heartache of business is just not dotting my I's, crossing my T's, thinking we was friends, thinking it was okay, and it wasn't, it wasn't like that. It wasn't at all. Okay.
So, but I always personally struggle with how do I come up with a price?
Oh, with the price.
What's the price? I want to sell the thing, but I don't want to undersell it. I want to.
And honestly, there's a few techniques to it. I'm glad you said that because I got a video on my page, and I think it's called "How to Be at Your First Independent Welding Job." And I just gave a random overview on how you can do it independently, but I can give you a few pointers. The main thing to be in the job is something you want to always do in business. I want to say this for everybody that's listening. Pay yourself first. You are the business. Pay yourself first. Let me get that out the way. Never feel like your value is less than what it is. Pay yourself. This is what it is. So if you say, I want to start out, I want to make at least $25 an hour. So that means now your first price is starting out at 25. Then you say, okay, now material and time. Okay, it might take me 10 hours. So that's 10 hours times 25 plus the material. Now, this is the rule of thumb. If you got to go call anybody, pick up any material, bring anything in, add 25% to whatever that costs, because that was your time too. So if you had to spend $1,000 to go get this project together, put 25% on that. That's part of your profit for putting that together. That makes sense? That's like a rule of thumb. but you want to start off with a percentage on your time, which I would say at least 25%, and a percentage on your skills. So as you saying, you're gonna pay yourself 25, and then you might be using your truck. You might say, hey, I want to pay my truck 25 as well. So now we got $50 an hour plus 25%. And then you might say, well, what if I got to bring my cutting torch and the welder? Now you say, you know what? Now it's $75 an hour because now I got myself, my truck, and all of my equipment plus my mileage. So if it takes me 30 minutes to get there, I charge 60 cents a mile. So normally 60 cents is fair. If I got to bring a whole lot, I charge $1 a mile, but normally I charge 60 cents. 60 cents a mile, I calculate the mileage versus my personal time versus my truck and my equipment. So if my equipment is $25 an hour, that's my welder and the torch. My truck itself is $25 an hour, just firing it up. And then me for driving the truck, that's 25. So now I'm making $75 an hour on top of how long it takes me to get there.
Do you mark up your materials at all, or?
Actually, when I buy the material, I'll buy it. And how I mark it up when I have to go through it, like I was saying, and do the bid in, I just add 25% to it. So,
Just to explain what that means.
so when you mark it up, say if I went to the steel yard and I had to go buy $100 worth of square tubing that was 2 inches, and it was $100, and I'm gonna do it for a customer, I'm not gonna sell it to them for $100. I'm gonna say $100. And I'm gonna add 25% to that $100, and whatever that equals, so that's gonna equal 125. So now I made 25, and I had them pay for that. So that way my time was involved. Now the other way to do it is if you're doing products. So if you're spending $100 on some tubing, so to speak, and okay, let's just say I was making my shooting targets. If I go spend $100 worth of metal on shooting targets, I can actually make 1, 2, 3. I can make 5 targets off of spending $100. So once I spend $100 and I make the targets, now I can sell each target for $75 a piece. You see what I'm saying? So I went from spending 100. Now I just made a profit where I can make $475 off that $100 I just made.
There are some formulas I've never figured out, never had to do enough of it to figure out which works for me. Sometimes we run into a thing called supply of materials.
Yes.
As an ironworker, companies love that because
Yeah, they love that.
they love time and materials because they just
Keep the number going.
especially emergency jobs that need time and materials. But sometimes when they want to bid, you got to throw them a number. Well,
Yeah.
you gotta figure out that number because you want to have something left over when you're done, not just paying for the materials.
Yeah, you want to make a profit.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't give yourself enough credit, then you're never going to grow.
And I would say this. It's okay if you go do a couple jobs and you actually underbid yourself or overbid, because that's going to happen sometimes. It's just what it is, but always make sure it's worth your time, because you don't want to do nothing for free. So just keep that in mind. If you want to work for free, you'll go get a job and just go punch a clock. So you're trying to make a profit. You know what I'm saying? So never think that you're not trying to make a profit. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Joe. I appreciate your time again. And anytime, we'd love to have you again anytime soon. Even next year when we're back in class, we've got video cameras and all that stuff. Well, we can still do Zoom back then, when we get back. But so I'll probably ask you to come hang out with us.
Yeah, most definitely.
We got a class of sophomores I got to start with in a few minutes, but 2 minutes actually. But yeah, again, I could sit here and talk to you for hours. But so anyway, I appreciate you coming on, and especially I know you're busy, man. Have things going on. This nice block of time has been great for us, and definitely. I don't know what else to say, but thanks a lot.
Oh man, no problem. Like I say, I appreciate y'all for checking in and actually having me a part of it. I hope any information that I give can actually help someone. And like I said to the other class earlier, I want to say this. I know you have probably heard or probably think that you can learn from your own mistakes better than learn from someone else. Actually, you can learn better off someone else's mistakes than your own. So if you can find someone, even if talking to them or not talking to them, sometimes it's better to learn from someone else stumbles, learn from someone else pitfalls, learn from someone else struggles as far as getting into being independent or being a welder. That way you can kind of determine where you want to go. But you're going to have to put a little homework in yourself to actually learn from that person where you don't have to go through it verbatim. And that way you will save yourself a lot of headaches, a lot of time, and you can be able to have more of a fruitful and a productive life. So.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome at Harvard School anytime.
Most definitely, most definitely. I'm gonna have to come. I haven't been to New York yet, so when I do come, I got to come see y'all.
Yeah, we've got space, and we'd love to have you come. I mean, it's just let us know. We'll make it a spot.
Okay, bet. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all enjoy y'all day and y'all keep getting y'all hog on.
All right, thank you, sir.
So I just went live with the family. It was cool. I got a chance to talk to some people, some students out of New York. I let y'all go live with me because I actually wanted to document this. It was a great opportunity, man, to talk to them and just go over some of my personal experiences and just answer some of their questions. So just wanted to say I'm gonna keep getting my hog on, man. I appreciate y'all for checking in with me. Black Finish.